Hey booktubers, Lisa here. Today I have a massive book haul for you. I was starting to think of all the books I wanted to read in 2021, so I ended up with a few finds. Shall we see what I got? The first book that we have here, this was actually a recommendation by my brother who is in the US Navy. It is Leaders Eat Last. This is a nonfiction book. It is about how and why some groups seem to flourish and do really well, and some teams, no matter what resources you throw at the team, do not seem to work well and do not tend to flourish. They were talking about how you build trust. For this book, I'm really interested in reading this book. Obviously, it's more of a male's perspective because I've also read Lean In and Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. So the female perspective is a little bit different, that when women play in the game of business, the rules are a little bit different. So I'm interested to hear like what business advice they're giving the males, because I read a lot of the female perspective. So I'm definitely interested in giving this a read and see if I think this is good advice, because I've also spent 10 years in the professional business environment. So I am excited to read that and see if I agree or disagree with Mr. Simon. The second book that we have, this is a brand new release. I was on the pre-order list for this, so I just got this. This is What Would Frida Do? And what they mean by Frida is Frida Kahlo. She is a very famous Mexican artist who is also one half of a power couple. She was married to a man named Diego Rivera, who is also a famous Mexican artist. And I always wondered like what their conversations would be like. Like, I'm a famous person and I'm awesome, and like, me too. So I am interested in seeing what this will be, how this reads, how this plays out. It's a biography. This is also a nonfiction book, and this is like a brand new release. I just got this. So I'm a big fan of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. The third book we have, it says Don't Panic, it's the Hitchhikers 42nd Anniversary, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I've been talking about this. At the beginning of the year, I found this list of 100 books that you should read before you die, according to the BBC. I'll link it below. So far I've read, I want to say 14 books off the list. I said, I'm going to start from zero. I'm going to start over. I'm going to read. This is one of the books that's on the 100 books that you read. This is a fantasy book. Apparently, just by the short synopsis that I read on the back, right before planet Earth is demolished, they pick up this guy from the Earth and they're traveling through space together. They have a robot. It's supposed to be, I guess, funny. So we'll see how The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy plays out. Then we had to get some classics, because like I said, in my other videos, I love reading all types of books. This is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. This is also on the 100 books to read before you die. I also have this other really old school copy of David Copperfield. I thought it might be a first edition, but I think it was published in the early 1900s, and it was just amazing to feel that book and like understand this book is more than 100 years old, and there were all like different names written in it, and it said published in Great Britain. It was just really cool. So I'll definitely look through that, but then this one doesn't smell bad, so I'll probably read it out of this one and then look at the other one too. I'll probably read out of both books, but I am looking forward to David Copperfield. Oh, this one was also on the 100 books to read list. This one is not, but I had to read it. This is Donna Tartt, The Goldfinch. This won a Pulitzer Prize. From the little synopsis that I read, there is a tragedy where a mother dies in an accident. The father kind of shuns him and blames him for what happened to his mother, and he goes into the art world and kind of dealing with his grief. So there is Donna Tartt. I also read The Secret History. She has another book. I read that one too, and that one was good. So hopefully this one, I mean, it won a Pulitzer Prize, so you'd think it's good. The other book, this is The Handmaid's Tale. I think this is the third, when I read this again, this will be the third time I've read this. This is also on the 100 books to read list. It follows pretty closely with that Hulu miniseries that's been put out there. Elizabeth Moss is like the main character, June. So it's a dystopian society where the women, for the most part, cannot bear children anymore. There are some women who can bear children. They make them handmaids, they wear the red costumes, and they have to bear the children. And this book kind of delves into what that type of society, dystopian society, would be like. I do love that book. I actually read it before it was a Hulu miniseries a couple times, and I really enjoyed it. This book, Rebecca, this is on the 100 books to read as well. I've heard a lot of really good things, and I know Netflix is putting out a movie. It might already be out. I think I saw it today. I think it was number 3. So I have to read Rebecca. It's supposed to be like a romantic thriller. And I feel like thrillers have been awesome lately. Starting with Gone Girl, and then Girl on the Train, and then there was The Last Time I Lied. I liked all those books. I think the thriller category has really gotten like so good lately. So let me know if you enjoyed Rebecca, if there's any other thrillers that you would recommend that I read, because as you know, if you give me a recommendation, it may end up in one of my book hauls. This is another one of the books that was on the 100 books to read. This is A Prayer for Owen Meany. I love this book. I think I've read it twice already, and I know I'll love it again because I just remember I loved it so much. If you believe in intuition or fate or anything like that, this will be like your go-to book. I love it. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but I absolutely just love this book. This book, it's Emma by Jane Austen. Wah, wah, wah. I don't like Jane Austen. I read Pride and Prejudice. I didn't care about any of the characters. I don't care about going to the dance. I don't care if Mr. Darcy doesn't want to dance. Who cares? Nobody likes dancing. Things haven't changed in 200 years. You know, Mr. Bingley is not interested in your sister. Like, he probably ran off and went on Tinder and found somebody else. Like, move on with life. I didn't care about any of the characters. Jane Austen did a bad job with character development. I didn't care. I just didn't care. It was a waste of my time. So I'm only reading this because, not because I like Jane Austen, because I don't. I'm reading this because it's on the 100 books to read. This says Emma, and it's Jane Austen even said, the idea of a heroine whom no one but myself will much like, but Emma is irresistible. Probably Jane Austen will be the only one that likes Emma because I have not been impressed with Jane Austen, but I've had to eat my words before in the past. I'll give Emma a try. We'll see. All right, the next book we have, this was another recommendation from my brother. This is Tony Robbins' Money, Master the Game. This is a nonfiction book. I am particularly interested in this. I'm a CPA. I know some of the lingo. I don't think this book was necessarily where I was the target audience, so it should be interesting to see, do I actually agree with these recommendations? or not, or what I believe. The other thing, I've been reading a lot of Thoreau lately, and he has a lot of ideas about money. Some of them are, some of the concepts he encourages you to look at objects or things that you want in terms of how much cost of your life it will cost you, and what does that mean. So for example, when I first started working, I worked at Sears for $6.70 an hour. If I wanted to buy something and pay all my bills, it took me a long time to save up for something. So if I saw a pair of jeans that were $20, I may have to work for 10 hours to come up with the money for those jeans. 10 hours standing on my feet with an aching back, being bored stiff, unable to move from my little cashier, cage. And I would really think, do I want to do that for this pair of jeans? No. And then it was a good system to kind of run through like a decision tree. Do I want to buy this? And I learned that from Thoreau. That was a long time ago. And I still think that advice holds true. So I want to see, I should have a little game. Did Thoreau say this, or did Tony Robbins say this, and have like little quotes? I think that would be like a fun little game. The next book we have, this is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. This is also on the 100 books to read before you die, but this is interesting because it's actually a collection of 12 short stories that feature Sherlock Holmes and Watson. For me, the last time I was in London, I remember walking around and seeing stuff for Sherlock Holmes. I hadn't read the book at that time, although I'm a big fan of the Sherlock TV series. So I'm 100% going to London as soon as they lift the travel ban. It's one of my favorite cities in the entire world that I've been to. They have a lot of like good gluten-free food. They have a lot to see. It's clean, it's modern, it's not too crowded. I really enjoy it. So I will definitely go on like a book tour. I'll see like Sherlock Holmes. They also have like Harry Potter stuff. And then Oxford is not too far away. I think it's about an hour and a half. And then I can see, kind of do a book tour for his Dark Materials trilogy and all those books written by Philip Pullman. So I gotta get ready for going to London and read my Sherlock Holmes. And then this is another book that was on the 100 books to read. This is The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. And I was reading the description. I'm going to need a tissue box for this. This follows the story of a man who works fixing amusement park rides. And he starts off as, this cheerful teenager, and he ages into his 80s, and he's like this bitter old person. There is an accident at the amusement park where he is killed rescuing a girl when her cart falls. And when you get to heaven, you meet 5 people who have had a profound impact on your life, where they also explain to you your life. Then he has to decide, well, was my life a heroic, what I did, was it heroic, or was my life a failure? So that seems like it's a short book, but it seems pretty deep, and I'm sure I'm gonna need some tissues. This is the book I'm most excited about. This is from Philip Pullman. It's Serpentine. I just got this because I pre-ordered this. And if you follow his Dark Materials trilogy, Philip Pullman, from time to time, he will write a short story about the main character, Lyra. So this one is where Lyra is a few years older than she was in his Dark Materials trilogy, and she's having a disagreement with Pantalaimon, where I think he's saying that she lost her creativity and he's gonna go find it. So this book is also just so beautiful. I don't even know if the camera can capture how beautiful this book is. It's almost magical when you have it. I am like just giddy with excitement about reading that book. Then this is also on the 100 Books to Read Before You Die. This is Watership Down by Richard Adams. This is a fantasy book. Apparently it's also on Netflix. They showed like a picture of some rabbits, so I'm not sure. I don't know a whole lot about this Watership Down, but I will read the book and I'll see the video of the movie on Netflix and tell you guys what I think about the book and the movie adaptation. Then I have this beautiful beast. For those of you who don't recognize this, this is the Chronicles of Narnia. I may have read one of these books of the Chronicle of Narnia, but it was probably 20 years ago. This series is on the 100 Books to Read Before You Die. I think it's this one too, if I didn't mention that. But the Chronicles of Narnia are on there. I think my son's also reading these, so it will be cool to have some dialogue between the two of us about Chronicles of Narnia. This is on the 100 Books to Read as well. This is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. It says it's fiction, so we'll see how it goes. I think this one could be interesting. Obviously it has somebody thought it had some merit if it ended up on the 100 Books to Read list. And last but not least is this huge book. It's like 1,400 pages. This might be if I actually read this to completion, this will be the longest book that I have read. It's called A Suitable Boy. This is where a family, Lata, is looking for a suitable boy to marry Lata. And apparently it focuses on 4 different families. We'll see if I make this through. Let me know in the comments if you have actually read this book. Was it worth the time you spent reading this big book? This might take me all of 2021 to read, but I want a challenge, and hopefully this will be it. Hopefully it'll be a real page turner, so it will go by quickly. So let me know also what's the longest book that you've read. And I'll have to see if I read it too, and if I agree if it was worth the time investment. I just hate reading a book and you're like, I was only okay about it and I just spent 1,000 pages reading it. And I've also read books that are 1,000 pages and I'm like, oh, I wish this book, was even longer because I just enjoyed it so much. But that is my latest book haul, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel for my book reviews on all of these books. Until next time, everyone, I'm Lisa of Troy. Peace.